Today we're going to look at Pythagorean Theorem, which is something that you've probably seen before, so hopefully this is a review. So for the warm-up, what do you know about right triangles? List what you know below. So you may know that triangles have 180 degrees if you add up all the angles. You might know if it's a right triangle that one angle is 90 degrees, and that right angle has this mark right here that looks like a box. You might know the different names of different types of triangles. Our goal today is you can find the missing length of a right triangle. So first of all, we have to know the parts of the right triangle. So we have our 90-degree angle here. The longest side is always across from the 90-degree angle, and we call this side the hypotenuse. The two shorter sides are called the legs. And in geometry, we studied something called Pythagorean Theorem, which says if we call the two legs A and B, either leg could be A, either leg could be B, and the hypotenuse is C, that there's this formula we can use to figure out the length of a missing side, and that formula is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And that's what we're going to practice using today. And class will watch the starburst proof, so you can watch that on your own time if you would like. We're going to look at two types of problems today, solving for the hypotenuse, the longest side, and solving for a leg, one of the shorter sides. So if you're solving for the hypotenuse, first step is we start with our formula. Again, that was A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We're going to plug in what we know. We know A and B. Again, either of the legs can be A and B. And we know that they're the legs because they're right next to the 90-degree angle. So if they're touching the 90-degree angle, they're legs. And then the longest side is across from the 90-degree angle. So let's plug in. We have 3 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. Let's simplify the left-hand side. So 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. If we add them together, combine like terms here, we have 25 equals C squared. To get rid of a squared, you can take the square root. And the square root of 25 would give us 5. And you can double check your answer. The hypotenuse should be the longest side, and it is. 5 is longer than 3 and 4. So that's how we use Pythagorean Theorem to solve for the hypotenuse. You plug in, you simplify, you take the square root, and then you can get the hypotenuse. Let's try another example. Again, I'll turn the triangle around on you, but you should be able to identify the legs. The legs are next to the 90. The hypotenuse is across from the 90. So let's plug into Pythagorean Theorem. We have 6 squared plus 8 squared equals C squared, or I can say X squared. 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. Let's add together 36 and 64. That would give us 100. And then the last step is to get rid of a squared. You square root. It's the inverse. And we get C equals 10. Again, C should be the longest side, and it is. 10 is longer than 6 and 8. Okay, so that's how you solve for the hypotenuse. Solving for leg, there's just one extra step here. So let's take a look at solving for a leg, a shorter side. Okay, so this time when we label this, I'll call 24A XB and the hypotenuse 26C. Again, the hypotenuse is across from the longest, from the 90-degree angle. It's the longest side. Excuse me. If I plug into A squared plus B squared equals C squared, we have 24 squared plus B squared equals 26 squared. All right, now we're going to use some algebra and we're going to solve for B. First, let's do 24 squared and 26 squared. So let's calculate that. All right, 24 squared is 576 plus B squared equals, we'll do 26 squared, 676. We're solving for b squared, so the next step we're going to subtract 576 from each side. We get b squared equals 100, and then we're going to square root each side, so b equals 10. And if it's a leg, it should be smaller than the hypotenuse, which it is. 10 is smaller than 26. All right, let's look at one more example of solving for a leg here. Again, let's label our sides. So we have, I'll call this A, B, and C here. When we plug in, we have a squared plus b squared. I'm going to call 5b. So b squared equals 13 squared. We'll simplify. So we have a squared equals 5 times 5 is 25. 13 times 13, oh, this should be a plus here. Let's fix this. So a squared plus 25 equals 13 times 13 is 169. We'll subtract 25 from each side. So we get a squared equals 144. Take the square root. So here a equals 12. And again, your leg should be smaller than the hypotenuse, and it is. So when you try this today, these two types of problems, we got nice whole number answers for the notes, but you will get decimal answers. So don't be worried if you see those today on your assignment.